I guess maybe the software got an upgrade now to go more than 30 minutes. I'm not sure. But anyway, so this is where the C.S. Lewis thing comes into play, where the socialist, and I'm just going to say, because Lenin is quoted as having said the goal of socialism is communism. Is communism, because once you start the centralization of power, okay, it's like a drug to the people who are receiving the power, and you just can't get enough. It's like heroin. The first hit, you'll never have that experience again. I mean, I've never done it, so I don't know, but I'm just saying this is what they say. You'll never have that experience again, but you'll spend the rest of your life chasing it. You'll even die chasing it, right? Because that first experience, power, I believe, is the same thing. It's like you can never, ever, ever get enough once you get a taste of it. So socialism is the end goal of socialism is communism. Communism is just centralized control where, a small committee or even a small subculture of maybe, let's just say 100,000 people control the behavior and the resources and the thoughts and the activities and everything of up to hundreds of millions, as many as possible, billions. They're going for billions. They're going for control of the entire world. That's what this thing is all about. Fauci, I can't remember what I was saying. Fauci and these guys, they just flipped on the whole mask thing because everybody fell in love with the masks. They just thought it was the greatest thing ever because it made them feel. Instead of standing up and telling people the truth, it's like, hey, don't wear the masks. The masks compromise your immune system and make you more vulnerable to all infections, including coronavirus. Instead of doing that, which would be an act of integrity, they saw that the masks provided them with an unexpected, unplanned opportunity, which is to keep people afraid, keep people constantly reminded every single day, because there's a saying in marketing that when you're marketing, you're buying brain cells. That's why you see Geico ads, every Geico. They want you to see, and that's why Starbucks in the big cities, they put a Starbucks on one corner and a Starbucks on another corner, across the street from each other. They want to reinforce the idea that their product or their service is A, ubiquitous, and B, what's the word I'm looking for? It's irreplaceable. Like you can't live without it, basically. So it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere, and B, you can't live without it. That's what a perfect marketing strategy, inculcates or injects those ideas into the population's minds, psyches, and minds. Okay, and that's exactly what the masks are. Everywhere you go, you see these people with these crazy masks on, right? And then you talk to them, and their eyes are all like wild. They're all wild-eyed, freaked out. Which fear also is an immunity suppressant, because when you're afraid, your body goes into survival mode. It's like your body, like you're running from a tiger, let's say. Your body pulls in all energy from extraneous sources, which would include your immune system, and focuses it on the survival parts, the parts of your body that you need for survival, so that you have a maximum chance of escape the tiger, which is a super intelligent, highly engineered, masterful system of engineering, right? Masterfully engineered system. That's what your body is. The problem is not with the system. The problem is when you hack the system, okay, and you cause the person or the animal, but we're talking about people here. So when you cause the person to live in a continual state of fear, fear is not supposed to address continual states of crisis. Fear the fear response is designed to address punctuated, fast passing, okay, states of crisis, and maybe let's say, for example, you're living in the wild and you get into a situation where you're afraid for 2 weeks. Okay, fine, but 2 weeks. But this business of being afraid for months and months and months and months and months with no repose, no escape from the fear, except this fake little mask thing that does nothing except add injury to insult, or add injury to injury, or add immunosuppressant to immunosuppressant, then you're in the process of wrecking the society in terms of their health. And so more people get sick, and then they have their people in place to manipulate the test results, or they have their fake tests, which have been proven over and over and over again that the tests are fake. There was a nurse in Virginia that sent in 1,000 coronavirus tests. She dipped them all in saline solution, and 60% of them came back COVID positive. So people tell me all the time, I got COVID. It doesn't mean anything. Maybe you got COVID, maybe you don't. I mean, how do you feel? That's the important thing. How do you feel? Coronaviruses have been around for millions of years, if you believe in millions of years. I don't know what I believe on that point, but regardless, coronaviruses, every animal has coronaviruses. Dogs have more coronaviruses than any other animal, or they're one of the animals that have the most. I mean, so it's just all crazy. The other point I want to make on the CDC is that I don't really care what the CDC, I mean, that's an overstatement. I do care what the CDC, because I listen to everybody, right? I do care, but I don't care what the CDC says to the point that I'm going to get down on my knees and worship whatever they say. Because the only people, and we're going to get back to the communist part here, the only people, and I think you're going to see when I say that my church is run by a bunch of communists, I think you're going to see that I'm not just like randomly saying making pejorative statements, right? The only people who allow a central committee of advisors to tell 300 million people what they must do, right, are communists. I mean, that's pretty much it. Or people who are on their way to becoming a communist, or people who are friendly to being a communist and becoming a communist and friendly to communists. I mean, that's like a communist. That's like a mark of a communist. Oh, let's hear what the Central Committee has to say. And then you look closely at the Central Committee, and all of them are on the boards of different pharmaceutical companies. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So, Dr. Money gave what would theoretically, under normal circumstances, be a really great sermon today about the people who go, the parable that Jesus told about the people who go to work for the guy with the vineyard, the people who start at 6 a.m., get paid whatever a denarius is. Let's just say it's $100. I mean, I have no idea. They get paid $100, and then the people who go and they start at 9 a.m., they get paid $100, and the people who get started at 12 p.m., they get paid $100, and then the people that start at 5 p.m. and they only work for an hour, they also get paid $100. So it was a good sermon. I mean, it could have been a really great pro-capitalism sermon. It could have really been a really great pro-individual sanctity of the individual sermon. It could have been a really great individual autonomy sermon, because in the sense that, hey, whatever you agree to, that's what you agree to. I mean, if you want more money, then ask for more money. Nobody asked for more money. They just took what was offered, So it could have really been great in that sense. But as it was, it just came out to be a pro-coronavirus sermon. And by that, I mean, it was a be happy with what you get type of a thing. I don't know if you've ever seen the montages of all the politicians, Justin Trudeau in Canada, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. I mean, there's like hundreds of them. And they're all going around the new normal, 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 and everybody just boom, 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 boom. It's like brainwashing when a bunch of people start saying the same thing. And this is why I say, I think that we all, that's going to be a really bad glare. I think that we all need to speak, professionals and non-professionals alike, because when people allow themselves to be intimidated, right? You could almost draw some parallel. I'm not 100% sure what the parallel would be at this point, but you could almost draw some parallel between people who allow themselves to be intimidated and the people who agree to work for $100 that start at 6 o'clock in the morning and then get angry at the people who start at 5 o'clock in the evening, work for an hour, get paid 100. You can almost draw some parallel, like you're settling, like you have no strong sense of your own self autonomy. You have no sense of your worth as an individual. In spite of the fact that that's how God made you. God made you to be worthy as an individual. God made you to not need the identity and that's the way I characterize the standardization of institutional certification. It's like a seal, a wax seal from the Middle Ages or something like that. It's like one of those embossed seals that they put on what are supposed to be really important pieces of paper, like college degrees and certifications of this and certifications of that, PhDs and whatever. And if a degree or a PhD or a certification or whatever helps you get from point A to point B, then God bless you. I think that's wonderful, and I commend anybody who has the ambition to go and sit and do the work, and all that. I don't have anything to get at what my passion is against. What my passion opposes is people who say you have to do this. You have to get the approval or the certification or the embossing of the institution, or you can't do anything. And there are people who do that. I've sat at tables with them, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure why, but to me, in my experience, they're always women. You must do this and you must do that, and it's like they just really get off on the power trip. It appears to me of telling people what they have to do in order to earn their approval, basically, but I grew up in a female-dominated home. So my bias is what it is. It's, it was, they say that 80% of our characters formed before we're like 7 years old. So whatever my bias is, it's, it goes way back. But and my bias is also based on my personal experience. Your experience might be different. And, I'm not going to begrudge you if it is. Your experience might lead you to a completely opposite conclusion. And if that's the case, then that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're wrong. You just have a different point of view than I do. So, but that's my experience, and that's my negative passion is against people who tell you have to get this certification or that degree or that approval, or you have to jump through these little silver hoops like trained poodles in a poodle show, and in order to you can get wherever you want to go. Okay, in some form, okay, and as some form of expression of where you want to go, almost however you want to get there. And that's a bit of an overstatement, but maybe a more precise way to say it would be that there are many paths to get to where you want to go, And I personally am a believer that the path matches the destination that's meant for you, okay? So if you don't like the path, there's a great chance that where that path is taking you is not anywhere you want to be. It might look good from where you sit. It might be what everybody's telling you need to do. But if you don't like the path, and I don't mean just like a passing dissatisfaction. We all are unhappy with where we are, I'm just talking about like overwhelmingly, massively. If you're massively, overwhelmingly unhappy with the path, then there's an excellent chance that path is taking you somewhere you don't want to be. There's stories of there's people that have written books. There was a guy who was just had it drilled into his head since he was a little boy that he needed to be an attorney, and but he always loved music, and I'm sure that there's a lot of mom and dads out there that tell their kids you don't want to be a musician, you can't make any money, blah 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 blah. Anyway, this guy became a very successful attorney, and he ended up with brain cancer, and he's written a book, and I'm sorry I don't know his name, but maybe if you just do a topical search, you can find out who it is. So he decided he wanted to spend his last days doing what he loved. So he, I think he was a violin player. So he joined the local community orchestra, and he started doing what he loved to do, and his brain cancer went away. So, like I said, if I think that we were all made for a purpose, And if we don't fulfill that purpose, then nothing is really going to work for us, and it might even be kind of tragic. So anyway, that's all I want to say today is that, control freaks are from the devil. This business of a central committee advising 3 or 4 or 500 million people what they have to do. And then, it's like summoning, what was that movie? 11 Monkeys. It's like summoning up the bats of hell. It's like summoning up the crazy monkeys when the central committees issue these edicts, which are not even edicts, they're just recommendations. It's like all the control freaks come out of their shells and they just go crazy. It's like they haven't been fed for 1,000 years, and now they're finally getting some food, and they just go crazy and they start attacking people and and getting their control fix. And like C.S. Lewis said, if they have some sort of 1-inch surface deep justification, rationalization that makes them feel good about what they're doing, then they're going to sleep well and they're going to wake up the next day and do it even more. So it's when they have that surface rational, 45 minutes. I told you I have a lot to talk about. I have a lot more in this too. When they have that surface rationalization, it's like a rapper, It's like a murderer or a rapist or a robber comes to your house and he tells you he's from the power company and he needs to look at your fuse box, and it's inside your kitchen, and you're like, there's no fuse box in my kitchen. He's like, no, we've got a schematic of your house and it's underneath the sink, blah. And you're like, okay. So see, the murderer, the rapist, the robber has wrapped himself in a premise. He's wrapped himself in some false presentation to get past the threshold of your door. Okay. And then once he's inside that threshold, boom, he can do whatever he wants. So that's what these control freaks are like. They wrap themselves in premises, right? And one thing Dr. Money's really good at is like just going full bore on the premise, like total passion, total belief, like this is because of this. And like, Mike, like it's like theater, right? Makes it completely believable, to the people that he has power over. But it's just a premise, and it's all going to fall apart, I believe, soon. And if it doesn't, we're all in trouble, because you can take this premise of forcing other people to do what you think they need to do to keep everybody safe, right? You could take that to ridiculous extremes. I mean, if we allow them to shove this practice of false premises of everybody doing what they say we have to do to keep everybody else, it's like, wait a minute. It's like, if we allow them to get an inch with this, they'll take a foot. And then once they get a foot, they'll take a mile. The next thing is obviously the vaccines. And then there's an app for your phone that says if your last name starts with A through K, you can go grocery shopping on Monday and Wednesday. But if your last name starts with L through S, you can go grocery shopping and they're just total tyrannical control of the population. And then they want to move everybody out of the suburbs into the big cities. And it sounds completely unbelievable. But if you go out and you read the United Nations 2030 plan for the population, it started 2020 plan, then the 2021, I think it's up to the 2030 now. This is what they talk about. And yeah, they're crazy. They're crazy control freaks. Bill Gates has enough money such that nobody in the world should be drinking dirty water or not have a shelter or probably even air conditioning. Nobody in the world should be living without any of those things. But he's not interested in that. He's interested in injecting people with things, So it's complete and total evil what this thing is all about. And the Bible specifically says that when your face is uncovered, you reflect the glory of God. There's no basis in Christian faith for covering your body to glorify God. Right? Well, you could say women cover their hair, but that's a different thing. That is kind of weird in its own right, but I won't get off on that for the moment. But it is pretty interesting, and it's also kind of weird. But David took off his clothes. Moses, when he approached the burning bush, was told to remove his sandals. People were constantly removing things to approach God, not covering up. That covering up is oppression. It's a symbol of oppression and silencing and and that's what trespassing me from the church is all about. It's about silencing me. It's about removing my presence, because they only want quiet, obedient, subservient people that walk around with slooped shoulders and bent necks. Either that, or people who enthusiastically and energetically embrace whatever the central authority is saying. So one of those two: either you walk around you either keep your mouth shut, or you agree with what the leader's saying. Those are your two options. But speaking your mind in a way that is not one of those two options, that's not allowed. That's not allowed. That's considered slander, even though that's not slander. Slander is when you lie about somebody. And I meant to look it up. I looked it up before, and that's what it said. I meant to look it up again just to triple check, double check. But if that's not right, please let me know. But I'm pretty sure to slander somebody, you have to lie about somebody. The other thing about all of this, and I apologize for my rambling, but it is what it is. The other thing about all this, I never say anything about Dr. Money or the leadership of my church that's not public. I say everything publicly, right? No one has ever said anything to me publicly. I get a few private messages, and I'm always like, why are you sending a private message? He's a public figure. I'm saying what I have to say publicly. If you have something to say to me about that, you should also say it publicly. I don't understand. It's very confusing. Are people scared? Or, I just don't understand. People do that all the time. One day I stood up in church and said something, and it wasn't even negative. It was not negative at all. And it was a solicited comment. Somebody said, what do you want your church to look like? I said, well, I want it to look like Mother Teresa, a church that helps people, and blah, blah, blah. And about 4 people, see, generally speaking, the people love what I have to say, and the leaders don't like what I have to say, which kind of makes me feel proud, because I think that's the way it should be. Leaders they're given a free pass too often, too frequently. And that's not healthy. That's not good. That's a formula for corruption and sickness, spiritual sickness and decay and decline. I think leaders need to be continually challenged, and I think the population needs to be continually improving their skills at challenging leaders. That's how you raise up the entire population. But when you have this entitled, spiritually obese leadership structure that just barks orders down to the population, then everybody gets worn down. The entire population just decreases in terms of competence and value and health and everything else. That's my belief. I think that the relationship of the population and the leadership should be one of contention. Like constant testing back and forth. And that's how everybody becomes strong. And when everybody in the population is strong, the society rises. That's the way I look at it. That's what I believe. That's why I'm always testing leaders. And that's why I plan on never stopping to test the leaders. And you know what? The leaders are getting really mad at me, which tells me they're not competent. They're just mad. They don't really have anything to say. That's the thing that keeps coming across to me. It's like, why isn't anybody saying anything? I don't know, but I think is they don't have anything to say. They literally have nothing to say, which is scary. We have people leading us that have nothing to say when somebody says something critical. It's like, you can't even defend your position. I have challenged Dr. Money so many times for his racist comments talking about white people being evil because of what happened with the slavery in the history of the United States. We had a civil war. 1 million people died. How many people does Dr. Money want to die, ugly, violent deaths to make amends for the national sin of slavery? How many people have to die? If 1 million's not enough, or 500,000, however many died in the Civil War? And why are you so concerned about things that happened 200 years ago, 150 years ago, for which a war was fought to resolve, but you don't care about 40 million slaves today that are mostly women and children. See, I've challenged him several times with that. They say nothing. I genuinely think they have nothing to say. And that's also why they get angry, because that's when people get angry, when they're challenged and they have nothing to say. They get angry because they don't know what to do, right? So they've kicked me out of the church, effectively trespassed me. I guess that's the same as kicking me out, which, is fine because to me, like I said, the Bible says, consider it pure joy when people falsely accuse you of things and yada, yada. And I don't know the rest of the verse, but I think I've captured the spirit of it. So it's good in that respect. It's also, well, it's kind of good from an egocentric point of view. It's kind of good from an egocentric point of view that it affirms that I've been right all along. I don't necessarily want to be right. I wish that everything I've had to say that was not positive so far was wrong. That's what I would prefer. But it appears to be right? Because, if you allow somebody to define themselves and you just sort of sit back and do nothing and watch them, and they just define themselves poorly, over and over and over and over again, well then when it comes time for judgment, you have nothing to do. I mean, they've buried themselves, right? And that, to me, that's what this is. I mean, I've been going to this church 20 years. I've put tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. It would be a low number of hundreds of thousands if it is that much, like one or two, of dollars in this church, hundreds, if not thousands of hours of volunteer time, and they have a problem with me one day. So they kick me out of the church, or they trespass me. And then in the process of trespassing me, they lie. Okay. So it's a victory for me in the sense that they had to lie, because if they could have justified trespassing me with the truth, then that would be bad on me. That would be bad on me, because that would mean that I genuinely did something that was deserving of being trespassed. But when you have to lie, even if it's a little lie, even if you got bullet point number 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all true, and then the fifth point's a lie, okay? If you gotta lie to justify what you're doing, then obviously even what you're doing isn't justified, right? Like if the 4 were good, and I'm not saying there were 4, I think there were only 3. There were, in reality, all I did was raise my voice outside the church. It wasn't even in the church. And there was like at most 5 people there. And only 3 that had anything to do with me. So, I mean, I don't know if they could hear me. The church is huge. It seats 1,500 people. There were like 100 people there. And they're going all wild-eyed, crazy communist Nazi over these masks when nobody else in the county even cares. Trust me, I go everywhere in the county. Nobody cares. A couple people say something. I have my card that Pastor Hall, Peggy Hall out in California, has this website, www.thehealthyamerican.org. Her husband, Pastor Hall, he quotes these civil rights and statutes. And, I just hold up this card and everybody's like, okay, fine, whatever. Nobody cares except the communist Nazis at my church. And like I said, I've been to the courthouse. I've been to the driver's license bureau. Nobody cares. I mean, it's an stretch to say they don't care, but I mean, everybody's like, okay, fine. You got an exemption? Okay, fine, whatever. I mean, if you're wearing a mask, okay, why are you so worried about me? Isn't the mask supposed to protect you? I mean, isn't that why you're wearing it? I mean, but then like I said, they get into this business. Oh, no, we're doing it for somebody else. We're doing it for other people. It's like, okay. I mean, it's Looney Tunes, man. The whole thing is Looney Tunes. But I've rambled enough. And like I said, it's been a long time, so I'm sure I'm rusty, and I'm sure I rambled more than I even know that I did. But if you have a chance to watch it, and you do watch it, I appreciate it very much. Thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Take a stand for freedom and understand that evil always wraps itself in some kind of a premise. Not always, but most of the time, it much prefers to wrap itself in some premise that makes it look pretty. That's why Albert Camus said the welfare of humanity is the alibi of every tyrant, right? And there was Okay. Oh, this is about to cut off. And I just read another one. Thomas Jefferson said, "The greatest tragedies are always committed in the name of the noblest causes." So that's it. Thank you. God bless you. Bye.